Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. This is Sweta Roy, your English master teacher at Vedantu, and in today's session we are going to analyze an immensely powerful and a great story by Ernest Hemingway, which is Old Man at the Bridge. This would definitely lead, this would definitely leave a great impact on our minds. So let us move ahead with this story without further ado, and let us analyze this story from various perspectives, from various angles possible. This is a beautiful story by the Old Man at the Bridge with a very powerful message that it leaves. So moving on, first, I would again like to remind you about the VSAT scholarship. So if you haven't taken the VSAT till now, what are you waiting for, guys? Registration is for absolutely free. Check out this link below and do register yourselves and win a short scholarship. Okay, so we will begin with The Old Man at the Bridge by Ernest Hemingway, a great story, a powerful story. Let us see what it is all about. And again, a gentle reminder that this season you can boost your scores with the micro courses at just ₹1, where you have 2000 plus topic-wise courses for class grades 6 to 12 and CBSE, ICSE, of course, and of course also for competitive exams like JEE, NEET. Just check out this link to know more. So first of all, let us see about the author Ernest Hemingway, who's an American journalist, novelist, short story writer, and he won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. He published 7 novels, 6 short story collections, and 2 non-fiction works. Many of his works are considered classics of American literature. This story, Old Man at the Bridge, is based upon an Easter Sunday stopover at the Ebro River during his coverage of the Spanish Civil War. So he was a journalist, as I mentioned. So he was covering this Spanish Civil War, and this story is based on an Easter Sunday stopover at the Ebro River during his coverage. And it was in April 1938. So now let us move on to the critical analysis of the story, The Old Man at the Bridge. Let us understand the backdrop initially, and then we will be moving on to the story in depth. So the backdrop is, you need to understand the backdrop very clearly. It was the Spanish Civil War of 1938. Backdrop is, it's historical, Spanish Civil War. And the story is inspired by Hemingway's travels as a war correspondent during the Spanish Civil War in 1930s. He was writing for the North American Newspaper Association, but he decided, so this was written actually for the Newspaper Association, but he decided that he would submit a snippet, a part of his writing as a short story to a magazine instead of submitting it as a journalistic article, and which accounts to a certain extent for its short length. Okay, so now let us move on to the story, but before moving on to the story, let me show you some pictures and let us try to analyze what are there in these pictures. And please do drop a comment in the comment section. What do you understand from these pictures? So this is the first picture. You could see the soldiers. These are the soldiers actually, and they are fighting. So we all know that soldiers do spend a very tough life. Indian soldiers and all the soldiers of all other countries. So where do they spend their life? That is very, very tough. Normal person, it's too difficult for anyone to spend a life over there, right? So with at such a temperature, low temperature, with so many difficulties, but still they are surviving, and not only surviving, they are fighting to, they are fighting for taking care of our nation, for securing our nation, right? So that is a great deal. I think we should, pay tribute to the soldiers of not only India but of all the world, because the soldiers are actually doing their duty, day in and day out. They are the true warriors and they are the heroes of the country. And gentle reminder, if you haven't yet downloaded the Vedantu app, do download the Vedantu app, and you have access to free live classes from grade 1 to 12. JEE, NEET, and other co-curricular courses are also there. So in order to know more, you can check out the link below and do study from the safety of your home amidst this pandemic. So we come to another picture, but looking at the condition of the soldier, although they survive, like they fight huge battles, but they have a very deplorable condition, and they are martyred, they are brutally, killed in the war. So many soldiers. So whenever there is a war-like situation, wherever there is war, there are killing of soldiers, mass killing of soldiers. So what do you think of these pictures? Look at this picture. Huge destruction. And this is a picture of the common people who face a miserable situation when there is a war-like situation, or when there is a partition going on, or suppose India-Pakistan partition, right? Or some other, partition, or whenever there is a war-like situation, people have to face the trauma of displacement. They have to leave their country, right? So think of the mental trauma of these poor people. So this is a snapshot of the people migrating from one country to another during the India-Pakistan, partition. So many people were displaced. They were forced to leave their home. A riot took place. There were innumerable killings. So just try to understand and empathize with them. We are so fortunate to be born in a free country where we do not have to face the trauma of displacement, leaving our homeland and displacing to some other country, living in refugee camps. So just try to understand how these people were fleeing. If you have watched the movie called Bharat, you can very well understand by, that came recently, when that talked about the India-Pakistan, partition, and the way they were traveling in loaded trains like this. Just imagine the situation. They were filled like animals, right? Just look at the situation. This was the situation. And this is an image of Kalinga War. If you remember your history well, you remember Kalinga War, right? Where mass destruction of people took place. And Ashoka the Great, who fought the Kalinga War, when he looked, if you have seen the movie Ashoka, then also you would realize that if you haven't, then you must see that. At least that incident where Ashoka fought the Kalinga War, and then his realization occurred. When he saw around him thousands of people, thousands of body lying, brutally, killed, brutally, in a brutal condition, and, children crying for their mothers, so many people dead. So he was heartbroken after seeing so many deaths around him. And suddenly he realized the futility of war. And this is, this is something which is very unusual for a king, because a king is actually known for his bravery, for his war strategies, for fighting war, right? But this king had a change in his heart, which is quite unusual for a king, right? I know that you would say that king is also a person, so he should have humanity in him. That is very true. But when compared to the other kings, you would see that Ashoka had a change in his heart, and he completely left war after seeing the disaster of the Kalinga war, the innumerable deaths around him, and he followed the path of Buddhism, because he thought that now I am not going to wage any war, and I would go follow the path of peace. And he started to follow Buddhism. He started to spread the preachings of Lord Buddha, which talked about peace, right? So that was a great change in a mind, so in his heart. So such change in the heart of an individual is very significant, especially of a king who was born to fight, who's born to rule. So he underwent a complete change, and we should take a lesson from him and understand the political and the warlike situation going around throughout the country, and do question yourself, do we actually need war? Do we actually need war? We can always settle things by diplomatic relations, by diplomatic understanding, by negotiating with each other. Do we need to fight war which causes the death of so many soldiers, and its effects are felt by so many people? Now, when a soldier dies, he also has a family behind, right? He has, suppose if he's married, he has his wife. If he has children, then he has his children as well. If he has a mother, he has a father. Think of their situation. So what kind of situation they are in? So war actually leads to mass destruction of youth, right? There are many war. So I know that we have this romantic notion of war heroes, right? That those who are fighting against our country, they are protecting us, they are fighting for our nation. It is very easy to sit in a convenient position in our homes and just speak about them, that okay, they are doing a great job, and that's it. But have we ever sympathized? Have we ever gone into their shoes and think about their condition? They also are human beings, right? They also have a family. They also suffer the same kind of, they also have fear in them. But we cannot accept the fact that a soldier can have fear. But we forget their humanity, that they are also human beings. It is very natural. We know that they are trained, they are conditioned to be brave, but it is a human condition to have fear of death. If somebody is pointing a gun, and that the next moment I'm going to die, you look at the condition, we will almost, lose everything. We lose our senses. We will lose ourselves if we think of that position. But we expect that our soldiers should be very brave. We cannot take the fact that if our soldier is not brave enough to, face his death. But that is a very romantic conception. We need to understand the humanity. We need to go beyond the veil of romance. And that is what, Hemingway has done. And that is what many anti-war poets have done. So there were many war poets like Rupert Brooke who actually glorified war. So I think personally that this glorification of war should be stopped. Because war is something which causes mass destruction. So many lives are destroyed. We should think of some alternative to war. War is a necessary evil. So whenever there is a war-like situation, we need to protect our country. That is a fact. But we should, try our best to come to a negotiation in such a way that war-like situation does not arise. Isn't it? So why does war happen? Just a small piece of land which causes so many, mass destruction, and we say that our country has won, that country has lost. But this winning and losing is very ironical, because both the countries, both sides, both parties have, so many losses in terms of lives. So when great wars like World War or a partition war or war of independence take place, then actually who is victorious? The term victory becomes very ironical because both the sides lose so many people. So we cannot actually glorify the victory because we have lost so many people, right? So we say that 1947 in history is, a great thing because we achieved independence, but we forget to think about the brutal, the riot which took place, the partition of India which happened, and there were so many people who migrated who displaced, who faced the trauma of displacement. We forget that bloody history. We should have in mind that bloody war as well. And with that, with that thought in our mind, we move on to today's lesson, which talks about, such kind of situation, which is completely related to this. So let us analyze this, the old man and the bridge. Themes of depression, resignation, and impending death is there in this chapter. We have the theme of war, violence, duty, kindness, and trauma of displacement. So just now I was talking about the trauma of displacement, movement from one place to another. Suddenly you are told that you need to leave your home altogether. You have no other option. We are not able to even imagine such a situation, but real people actually underwent such a situation where they had to leave completely everything and go to some other place. The first-hand experience of Hemingway in the two world wars enabled him to get an up-close and personal view of the horrors of war. So there were many anti-war poets like Wilfred Owen who talked about the pity and horror of wars because he actually had a first-hand experience of war. He was also a soldier, right? So therefore, Hemingway was also having a first-hand experience of war, and he also talks about the horrors of war. And this very lesson focuses on the plight of innocent people whose homes are converted into a battlefield without their consent when all they are doing is taking care of animals. So here we come across an old man who had to leave his who had to leave his entire home, and he had nothing but animals whom he was taking care of, right? So he had to leave all his near and dear ones and move to some other place. So we are talking about the homes of such kind of people, normal people like you and me, the mass, who are not even asked, who are not even given a choice, but asked to just leave their home. So their home becomes a battlefield whenever there is a war-like situation, right? So that is very important to understand when we are going through this chapter. The old man tells the soldier how they were made to vacate his hometown due to the war and how he had to leave his animals behind, which included a cat, pigeons, and 2 goats. So he said that I was taking care of animals. That included a cat, pigeons, and 2 goats. The cats and dogs are free to escape. So when we will analyze further, we will see that all these cats, dogs, pigeons, goats, dogs were not there. I'm sorry, please excuse that. Cats, pigeons, and goats were there. So how they are becoming symbols. So they are used as symbols. So when we go deeper, we will understand that. So the cats, they are free to escape, but the goats are stuck. Why? Because they are unable to move. And the goats, by an extension, become like the old man himself, who is unable to move and who is stuck, who is tired, who is exhausted. He's old, right? In times of war or any hostile atmosphere, many innocent lives are easily and conveniently labeled as collateral damage. So here, we are talking about the term collateral damage. What is collateral damage? So when the soldiers are fighting amongst each other, they may take the life of the other civilians around them. and they term it as collateral damage. So, in a warlike situation, what am I and you, we common people, what do we have to gain out of that? We are satisfied in our homes. We do not want any other place. We do not have, the greed for any other country. But still, are we given any choice? We may be killed the next day, and our death would be termed as collateral damage. So, this story talks about these common people who are killed mercilessly and their deaths become collateral damage. So, people who are deeply affected by a situation in which they are not even participating through their own volition. So, they are not even interested in this war, but still they are not given any choice but to participate. Events like war, so their homes become a battle place. Events like war refuse to recognize and acknowledge the humanity of the individual. So war is a very tricky situation. So when two soldiers, when they are in a warlike situation, they are fighting with each other, but in normal context, suppose they are not, soldiers representing each country, they could have been good friends, right? They are, after all, both of them are humans. They are bound somehow by the bond of, they are bound by the bond of humanity, right? But this warlike situation, the division created by the boundaries of country, creed, race, caste, is stripping the people of their humanity. And they are forced to fight among themselves. They are forced to kill themselves. That is very powerful and that creates a deep impact in our minds. So there are literally two goats in the story. So when the old man says that I had two goats in the story, the goats become a symbol of the two goats. So in the story also we find that symbolically he's trying to say by extension that there are two goats, the old man and the soldier who with whom he is having the conversation. So one can also try to establish a link between the old man's words, I was only taking care of the animals, and the fact that the soldier is taking care of the old man, even if it be through his mere presence, or perhaps the two are equally vulnerable, which means the old man said that I was taking care of the two goats, but he couldn't take care of the two goats. He was forced to leave. Similarly, the goat also, the man, the soldier, he also says that he also thinks that I am taking care of the old man by communicating with him, by talking to him. But even though by his presence, merely by his presence, he thinks that he is, giving some kind of solace, giving some kind of comfort to the old man who is tired, exhausted to walk further. But both of them are equally vulnerable. The old man is also vulnerable in the face of death, which is looming large. Similarly, the soldier also is vulnerable. He is also not able to do anything else. He's just doing his duty. He also becomes a puppet in the hands of some larger force which is controlling the entire nation. The old man is resigned to his fate as a casualty of the war. So he is resigned to his fate. He will become a war casualty, that is for certain. His life is prolonged by the fact that the day is overcast and the fascists cannot launch their planes, and his mind is eased by the fact that the cats can look after themselves. So he is talking about what? The prolongation of the life. So just imagine, he becomes the fatalistic hero of the chapter. His life is completely dependent on the fascists who are now going to, launch their plane, but they are not unable to launch. So he's resigned to his fate. He is now a victim of, his life is completely at the hands of fascists who are now not able to launch the plane simply because the day is not clear, the sky is overcast. This is very ironical, right? And at the beginning of the narrator's conversation with the old man, the birds the old man was looking after was referred to as pigeons, but at the end of the story, they become doves. So when you read the story, you will see that initially the old man says that I have goats, 2 goats, cats and pigeons. But at the end of the story, you will see that when the narrator talks about, he speaks with the old man, he says, did you leave the dove cage open? So the pigeons become dove. So now this conversion of pigeon to dove, was it deliberate or was it just a slip of tongue? We do not know. But it becomes a symbol of peace. Dove becomes a symbol of peace in wartime. This very short and simple story is a powerful depiction of how war affects the lives of common people who are without politics. So the old man says, I am old, I do not have any politics. When the soldier asks him, so which politics do you follow? And the old man, very powerful speech of the old man says, I have no politics. I am an old man, I am a common man. So the soldiers, the larger nation, they forget to see that we do not understand any politics. We are common people. We do not want the politics that the larger nation is following. We are all puppets in the hands of the larger politics that is going on. Right? That is what is very powerfully depicted in the story. The irony of the situation is not lost upon the correspondent who realizes that the animals for which the old man is so concerned have a greater chance of survival than their caretaker during the next crucial 24 hours. So in the next crucial 24 hours, when the fascists will launch their planes, they are going to kill everyone. So now, the irony, so the old man would definitely be killed, and the old man is, he is worried about the goats. And the irony is that the goats have a, greater chance of survival than the old man. Psychologically and symbolically, the old man had died the moment he left his animals. So he constantly mentions when he says that he is tired, he is not able to move further. So he has died, though he's physically he's physically surviving, but still the moment he has left his near and dear ones, his family, his animals, the animals were his family. So the moment he left that, he was symbolically dead, he was psychologically dead. He had no wish to move on because he had been completely isolated, right? So that is why he said, I am tired, I am exhausted, I do not want to go any further. Now we come to the symbols, which is very, very, very important, crucial for the understanding of the entire story, because the entire story is rich in symbolism. So the first symbol is, the animals, the cats. So the cats are the survivors. They have 9 lives, it is said. So these cats become the symbol for those soldiers who are, who are able to take care of themselves and who are able to survive even in a war-like situation. So there are some people who can survive. Pigeons, which become dove in the second mentioning, they can fly away from, war, they can fly away, and doves are associated with peace, which is quite ironic in this context. The doves will fly away. The goats next, the animals who can't escape, they are the sacrificial animals, scapegoats. So they are the innocent victims, right? So here, both the old man and the correspondent who actually had a conversation with the old man, they both become, scapegoats or victims at the hands of larger force which control their lives. Easter Sunday, next symbol is Easter Sunday. So this was happening in Easter Sunday, which is quite ironic. Why? Because Easter is celebration of resurrection of Jesus Christ. So it is an event of rebirth, event of joy, event of happiness. But in the event of resurrection or rebirth, one innocent victim will be crucified, will be killed. That is quite ironical. The repetition of the old man's words, I was taking care of animals, becomes eloquent symbolic expression of all those voiceless innocent men, women, and children who are the victims of war. They neither support nor understand. So the old man has not been given any name. He has been a name, he is nameless. And therefore, this situation becomes universal, traveling the boundaries of all nations, caste, creed, etc. It becomes universal, right? So it is the symbolic expression for all the voiceless, innocent men, women, and children who are the victims of war, which they neither support nor understand. So common people like we and like me and you, we do not, neither we understand, because we do not have a first-hand experience of war, right? So sitting conveniently from our home, we cannot comment on whether we need war or not until and unless we have that, first-hand experience of being a soldier and actually facing our enemies in the war front, right? So without politics, only living in their everyday world, we are innocent about politics, ignorant about the larger politics that is being played. So taking care of animals, which is destroyed by the forces beyond their ability to understand. So we are being destroyed, we are being victims of the forces which we do not understand, right? The title, The Old Man at the Bridge, that final bridge between life and death. So this bridge was actually in Spain, which connected Ebro Delta with safer place, Barcelona. So, Ebro Delta would be fired soon. So the people, they had to move from Ebro Delta to a safer place, that is Barcelona. So this old man was also told by the correspondent, with whom he had, a communication, to move away from this place, because this place would be fired very soon and then he would be killed if he remains. So he was instructed to move to a safer place. But he, the old man, said that I am tired. So he had resigned to his fate, thereby becoming our fatalistic hero, right? So the bridge means the step from war to the time of peace. Because it is temporary, people should hurry up to pass it. So this step, this bridge is very temporary, from life to death. This has a deep symbolic meaning, and the bridge is the bridge from life to death, connecting Ebro Delta to Barcelona. So it will be leading people from death towards life, right? So this is very temporary, and we do not know when this bridge will, collapse. So therefore, people should hurry up to pass. Now we come to the characters. First is the old man, who is the protagonist of the story, and the whole story revolves around him. He is the titular character. The unprecedented violence of war had forced an old man of 76 years to flee from his native town, leaving behind his home and animals that were apparently his only source of companionship and comfort. So he had to leave his only place of companionship and comfort and move to some other place. He's all alone in the world with nowhere to go and nobody to go. Therefore, he becomes psychologically dead from the moment he left his home. He sits by a dusty old bridge, trying to contemplate what will happen to his animals. He can be seen in the light of the Good Shepherd of Christianity as he cares for the flock, but ultimately he fails to protect them, right? So then comes the narrator, who is unnamed. As the text was inspired by Hemingway's real-life experience in Spain as a war correspondent, we can assume the narrator is a fictional persona of the author. His job was what? To cross the bridge, explore the bridgehead beyond, and find out to what point had the enemy advanced. And that implies that he was a scout, right? Who's a scout? An individual who is first sent to investigate a territory. There is a subtle hint of bitter irony in the story as the narrator speaks to the old man, urges him to escape, but he fails to actually help him. Just as the old man fails to save his goat, similarly, the narrator fails to save the old man. It is actually assuming the role of a survivor through ornamental words. So he could just tell him to move to a safer place. He is just giving a kind of lip service, but becoming powerless to do anything fruitful in the face of adversity. Here, the savior blames the old man's luck. So he says that he is not lucky enough to survive for his situation, and he leaves him to the chances of fate, because even the scout is powerless to save him, just as the old man is powerless to save his flock. So there is again a relation between the narrator and the old man. The old man not able to save his flock. Similarly, the narrator is not able to save the old man. So if you think that you have liked this video, it had created in you a deep impact about the destruction caused by war, you can do comment on what do you think. War is a necessary evil, justified. So you could just post your comments in the comment section below. And thank you for watching. I am hoping for all your comments about war and what do you think of war, and do you think it is a necessary evil? It is necessary, but is it evil? So do comment, and thank you for watching. Keep showering your love and stay subscribed. Thank you so much and take care. Till then, hope to see you again in the next session.